Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the invisible architecture of wealth. If you've ever wondered why some people just seem to attract money effortlessly, while the rest of us are out there hustling 24/7 only to stay totally stuck, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're not going to talk about the latest stock picks or real estate hacks today. Nope. We're getting into the fundamental, underlying code that literally dictates every single financial result in your life. It's a real game changer.
So here's our agenda for today's roadmap. We're going to look at the invisible wealth architecture, the process of manifestation, the 3 conditioning influences, and finally, how to actually recondition your money blueprint.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, the invisible wealth architecture, and what we call the diagnostic failure.
To put it simply, most folks suffer from a massive diagnostic failure. They focus entirely on the fruits, the actual numbers sitting in their bank accounts, instead of looking at the invisible roots. But, as T. Harv Eker says, if you want to change the fruits, you first have to change the roots. You can't just polish a bad apple and expect it to magically taste better, right? You literally have to re-engineer the root system that grew it in the first place.
This brings us to your financial thermostat. Think of it as your subconscious internal setting, the ultimate judge of your financial comfort zone. If your thermostat is set for mediocrity, man, even the absolute best opportunities are going to evaporate. It's kind of like the Loch Ness Monster. You hear rumors of massive profits, you see other people catching them, but it never actually manifests for you. If you're internally wired to make, say, 50 grand a year, and suddenly you inherit $1 million, your subconscious will literally find a way to blow it, through bad investments or just plain self-sabotage, just to bring the temperature back down to where you're comfortable. To fix this, we have to reset that thermostat.
Moving on to part 2, the process of manifestation. Let's dig into your source code.
Okay, wealth is not about luck. It's a rigid chain of cause and effect. The manifestation formula proves that your past childhood conditioning creates your mental files, which trickle all the way down into your physical results. It works exactly like this. Your programming dictates your thoughts. Your thoughts trigger your feelings drive your actions, and your actions, well, they produce your results. So if you're unhappy with the R at the end of that equation, trying to temporarily force different actions just isn't going to cut it. You'd basically be swimming against the current of your own programming.
What's really fascinating about the MESP diagram is that it shows we're actually living in 4 realms of existence all at the same time: the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical realms. We all tend to obsess over the physical realm because, well, we can touch it, but the physical is entirely dependent on those other 3.
Essentially, the physical world is just a lagging indicator. It's merely a printout. If you type out a letter, print it, and spot a typo, you can't just aggressively erase the ink on the paper, hit print again, and expect it to be fixed, right? The typo's just going to print all over again. To fix the printout, you absolutely have to go into the software, your mental, emotional, and spiritual programming, and change the original code. So a lack of money is never actually the core problem. It's just a symptom of what's happening underneath in your software.
Let's look at part 3. The 3 conditioning influences, or how all this toxic malware got installed in the first place. If we don't consciously intervene, there are 3 primary childhood influences that completely run our adult financial lives on autopilot. Let's face it, when we were kids, we didn't get to choose what files were downloaded into our mental hard drives. We just absorbed everything through verbal programming, modeling, and specific incidents. Let's break these down.
First up is verbal programming. The things you heard growing up act like toxic weeds in your mind. Take Steven from our source material. He was making over $800,000 a year, but his net worth was literally 0. Why? Well, his mom constantly told him that rich people were greedy pigs who just exploited the poor. So Steven's subconscious mind directly linked being rich with being greedy and bad. And since we all desperately want our mother's love and approval, his subconscious mind would forcefully get rid of his wealth just to ensure he remained a good person. Crazy, right? But that's immediate self-sabotage to protect his moral identity.
Next, we have modeling. Humans are basically hardwired to imitate. Think about the classic story of the woman who always cut the ends off a ham before baking it. When her husband asked why, she said, "Because my mom always did it." Well, they asked the mom, and it turns out she only did it because her roasting pan was too small. We blindly inherit these completely obsolete habits. In the same way, the author of our source material caught himself unconsciously picking losing stocks just to mirror his dad's anger and frustration at the market. Our subconscious just naturally repeats the parent's cycle of failure.
The third influence involves specific incidents or emotional traumas. These create permanent neural links in our brains. Take Josie, for example. She was an operating room nurse making fantastic money, but she had absolutely nothing to show for it. Why? Because when she was 11 years old, she watched her father die of a massive heart attack right in the middle of a screaming match at a Chinese restaurant over money. So in her mind, money literally equaled pain and death. As an adult, her subconscious mind viewed money as a lethal threat, so it naturally discarded all of it just to protect her from that pain.
So let's get into part 4, reconditioning your money blueprint. This is the big system reboot.
If you want to shift your trajectory from autopilot to actual consciousness, you have to walk through a rigid 4-stage framework to unlearn all that non-supportive programming. And listen, you cannot skip steps here. You have to logically and emotionally detach from that old broken blueprint to make room for the new one.
Stage 1 is awareness. Look, you can't change the software unless you actually know it's there. You have to bring it into your awareness by identifying and writing down one specific toxic financial belief you heard or modeled growing up. You really have to catch yourself in the act. Shine a massive spotlight on it. Like if you catch yourself thinking, "Oh, I can't afford that. That's just not for people like us." Write it down. Drag it out of the dark corners of your subconscious and right into the light. Stage 2 is understanding. This is where you step back and really look at the damage. Document the specific financial harm this external conditioning has caused in your life so far. Where did that belief even come from? Your dad? The news? You need to recognize clearly that this thought was an external installation. It was handed to you. It is absolutely not biologically a part of who you are.
Stage 3 is disassociation. This is when you realize this blueprint is just inherited information, which means you have the power to choose, right now, today, whether to keep it or let it go. You are not the recording. You're the recorder. You're not the software. You're the hardware. Once you see that this file is just an outdated piece of junk data that's actively hurting you, you gain the power to drag it directly into the trash bin.
Finally, stage 4 is reconditioning. This means actively overwriting the software. You literally place your hand on your heart and make physical declarations out loud to install new wealth files at a cellular level. Because everything is energy, stating your new beliefs out loud creates a physical resonance in your body. You're replacing the old, limiting files with expansive, supportive ones. You have to consciously command your mind to adopt these new ways of thinking.
So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to diagnose your own blueprint. If your internal thermostat is set for struggle, what is your next external action going to cost you? Seriously, think about it. Are you about to launch a business, invest in real estate, or ask for a promotion, while your internal software is still quietly programmed to sabotage your success? Before you take another exhausting step in the physical world, take a moment to look inward. Fix the blueprint, adjust the thermostat, and just watch how the external world effortlessly aligns with your new wealth files. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I